Hello and welcome to Investigation Check, our regular, irregular interview show where we talk to you. Oh my god, I'm already fucking this up. Jesus Christ, I got all tongue-tied.
Myself. I panic every time.
Our regular, irregular interview show where we dive into the lives of geeky creators to learn about their hobbies, passions, and the untold stories behind our favorite content. I'm your host, Joe, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this quest. Tonight's episode, we have the producer of Pick Your Poison Productions, an live AP game. I don't even know what to call it. It's amazing. Improv
Chaos show.
Yeah, chaos show. Con Queen. What else do you do, Sarah? Where can everyone find you? Thank you so. Oh, and it's Sarah Durnesque is the person we're talking to tonight. I'm nervous. This is insane.
You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet under the handle Durnesque. The only place that it's not me is fanfiction.net, and whoever that guy is
that guy.
bananas. I'd love to find him someday, because my handle is a made-up word, and I want to know how he got a hold of it. Writing anime fanfiction, and it's not me!
Okay, so find you everywhere on all social medias at Durnesque, correct?
Yes.
What are you doing right now? What can people check you out on if they want to see what you're doing? I know that's your handle, but like what projects are you a part of?
So right now the focus is my production company, Pick Your Poison Productions. We've got 3 of our shows coming back this year. Unfortunately, what we do is hybrid live shows to stream. And so 2 of the shows we're doing this month are live and in person only. So you have to be here in the Burbank, California area. Our host venue is the Roguelike Tavern. Those 2 events are the Dungeon Descent Ultimate, which is where we get 4 professional DMs to run 4 mini one-shots for about an hour. And then in the next hour, it switches to a full bar-wide battle, as the 4 hero tables are all now fighting the BBEG together, and the patrons in the bar can participate to either help the heroes or help the villain. It's wild,
Okay.
and it's a ton of fun, but it's only in person, and we can't stream that one because it's too much chaos.
Yeah.
And then we also have partnered recently with Vita Devoid, who's an incredible burlesquer. And so a few times over this year, we've been doing a D&D burlesque show together. And for various reasons, that can't be streamed either.
Why? I don't get it.
But again, if you're live in the California area and visiting around Thanksgiving, November 30th, come out for Dungeons and Dragons Burlesque, because it's an incredible time. We get 3 heroes going on a little adventure, and the monsters they fight are the burlesque dancers. So
Okay.
it's a ton of fun. So just to tease you with the things you can't see
Right.
remotely.
You're a monster. I need you to know that.
But coming up next week is our stable show, which is the Roguelike Rumbles, which is a PvP battle royale, which is, I won't say fully immersive, but it's fully interactive. So both our audience who come out to the bar live and the audience who watch the live stream on Twitch can interact, and they can buy magic items, health potions, and lair actions for the hero of their choice to try and put their thumb on the scale of the fight. And it's a ton of fun. Next week in particular is going to be a blast. It's November 14th, which is a Thursday. I know there's other things to watch on Thursday nights, but it's the night we got from the bar, so it is what it is. It's one night a month. Give it to us. But yeah, so next week is going to be a ton of fun because it's 4 of our champions from last year who didn't win the Champions Cup this year, all facing off against the reigning champ of champs.
Okay.
And so I'll be DMing that because I have to.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a ton of fun. It's the chaos of personalities coming together. It's going to be a blast. Even if you haven't watched it before, you don't need to know who these people are. We're going to be airing Session 0 on Tuesday at about 4 o'clock Pacific time. So that's 7 o'clock Eastern. So you can like get to know who they are a little bit if you want to ahead of time. And then you can just tune in, or you can just straight up tune in and just, they'll introduce themselves on the night of, and then it's just chaos improv D&D. It's a ton of fun.
All right. Well, we're going to dive into that stuff in a little bit because I definitely have questions about what that whole situation is like. But for right now, let's start at the beginning. Little Sarah D, what what was kind of your first foray, first experience into geek culture as a whole? Was it a cartoon? Was it a movie, books? What kind of what excited you about the geek space?
I was born to it. Kind of. my dad is a Dungeons and Dragons nerd who never taught me how to play, but definitely did play, and so it's in the genes somewhere. And my first Halloween, they dressed me as Wonder Woman, and then years later on the internet, I went viral as Wonder Woman. So I think that's technically the origin. Is my parents are just freaking nerds who got me started early. I think Power Rangers is really it though,
Yeah.
because like you know I would have been like what 4 or 5 when that's first airing in the '90s, and I just remember watching with my older sister, and like while the episode is happening, we're like LARPing it in our living room, like doing really bad somersaults and ninja kicks. Like I'm the Yellow Ranger, I'm the Pink Ranger. I had to be the Yellow Ranger because I'm younger. Um, so older sister always got to be Kimberly.
Okay, so well, what was it about Power Rangers that like was exciting for you? Was it the stories? Was it the costume design? What kind of like it tickled that fancy as a kid?
I think the fantasy of kind of all of it is
Hmm.
that we can be a hero. We can take hold of the story and we can save the day. I think that's constantly I think for most fantasy media, and especially then when you translate to D&D, we're literally choosing to be the heroes of the story. Unless you're a devious player choosing to be the villain. Um, yeah, I think that would have been it. And it's so funny. I remember, that even carried on. Like, there was a time in college where the college station was just playing a Power Rangers marathon. And as college kids, like, we're on Facebook because it was the early days of Facebook. And literally, a bunch of us, like, we're changing our profile pictures to whichever Power Ranger we were claiming. I finally got to be the Pink Ranger. We were just all, like, texting one another, like, Power Rangers, oh, I can't believe they're fighting Rita Repulsa again. Like, living back into it like we were kids.
So did you watch the Netflix special?
I didn't.
Monster.
I saw on the two. There's too much. There's too much to watch.
All right. So what was the first step? I know you said your dad was a DM and kind of introduced you at least to the world. What was kind of your first step into like the tabletop space?
So it's so funny. I kind of refused to get into D&D originally because I had tons of friends that played and a former partner of mine, and they'd be like playing at the house while I'm sewing over in my corner, like listening in, but like I can't do that. But secretly, like from high school, I was doing online role playing, like in the
Yeah.
forums. That was my thing. Like we won't talk about the turf who shall not be named, but I was in the Harry Potter message boards uh
Hold
doing
on.
online role
Hold on.
play.
What board?
The the Harry Potter message
Yeah.
boards.
Oh, just the official message board.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
No, the official ones. And the Phantom of the Opera message boards, because I'm also a musical theater nerd. That's actually where the name originates, Durnesque. Uh, I know I teased a little of that. So it's a misspelling of a last name out of a Phantom of the Opera fan fiction.
Okay.
That's why it's unique, mostly on the internet. No one else can have it. But yeah, it's so funny. So like, I'd be listening to friends playing D&D, literally just listening to their games like it was entertainment. And then I kind of was looking for stuff to listen to because I constantly need noise, and I hit a period in my life where I really needed like just something constantly to listen to, because I was traveling like all the time, and
Mm.
it was just hours on the road. And I discovered the Adventure Zone, and I fell in love. And then through that, I then found Critical Role, and
Mhm.
likewise, I originally started with the podcast, but eventually, when I was like, oh, I got to see what these people's faces are doing, so I switched to starting to watch the YouTube streams. Um, that's kind of what finally got me going. Like, okay, maybe I want to try it instead of
So
just listening.
did you play D&D first? Because you said you were listening to Critical Role, or did you do the cosplay stuff first for Critical Role? Because I know you are very well renowned for your Critical Role cosplays.
Wow, wild. No, I definitely was cosplaying first.
Okay.
So all my cosplay started specifically with Wonder Woman, back in my Tumblr days, which is where the mildly infamous nerd tagline comes from, because most people in nerd spaces have seen my face, whether or not they knew it was me.
Uh,
Because I went viral for a GIF of me transforming into Wonder Woman that has been all over the internet at this point. I still to this day every now and again someone will be like, "I saw you on Pinterest." I'm like, "Yeah,
That's me.
me."
So what was that? No, go ahead.
Yeah.
By all means, continue on.
Oh, that was it. So
Oh, okay. So what was that first step for you into the tabletop space? With that first game of D&D, what was that like? Was that a great experience, or was it kind of, because you hear these stories, like some people have a really horrible experience, some people have a great experience.
No, it was actually a really lovely experience. My friend Ariel, who I ended up later starting Pick Your Poison with, she pre-pandemic, like or the end of the year 2019, invited me to a little one shot at a friend's house because she knew I was like interested in it, and so she very graciously like included me in this one shot, and I played a little grave cleric because I have religious trauma, and I loved it, and then the pandemic hit. And we couldn't see people anymore. So I luckily had another couple of friends, Kim and Wesley, who had a home game running that they were like, "We love you. We want you to play this game with us." So I played a different version of the same character in their home campaign for a good while until I came back. I came back this way, and they're all East Coast and I'm West Coast, and eventually the timing just didn't work out.
Right.
But
So how do we get from you starting this first game to what you're doing now with a production company that's putting on these huge shows, and you're going to you pretty much every con I think you're at, right? I can't think of a single con you don't go to.
San Diego Comic-Con, baby, the big one. Can't go. I'm never available.
I think you make it up with all the other ones. So how do we get from first game to now, like this, starting your own company and like being all these things?
Again, the pandemic. So like I said, that friend that invited me to the first game, she and I had met through our Ren Fair days, and we were both out of we escaped. We were out of the game mostly. I think she still was doing a bit with her show, but wasn't really on the road so much. And we, pandemic hit, and just like kind of all of our arts friends were just kind of going like, I gotta do something, or I'm gonna go crazy. So she and I were texting and talking, and we were thinking about like what we wanted to do, and we were trying to figure out a way because everybody was doing Zoom theater. All of our friends were doing like live readings over Zoom. We were like, we want to do that because we're theater kids and we're itchy, but we wanted to have it somehow connect to the people at home in a different way. And what else were we all doing at the time? We were drinking. So I had seen once some like movie scripts done as drinking games, but I thought, well, that, copyright issues. I was like, what if we do classics of theater as drinking games? So we started with the importance of being earnest and reached out to friends of ours. And that first show it's still up on YouTube. It was such a fucking blast. We did the importance of drinking in earnest, and anytime someone said earnest, you took a drink. And if you're familiar with the show, that happens 88 times.
Oh my God.
So we did recommend that people either switch to water, or you could just snack every time it got said, or you could do a jumping jack if you wanted to be a fitness buff in the moment. And our lead, my friend Jimmy, he threw in extra earnest by the end of it. We're like, Jimmy, you're killing us. You gotta stop. But that one's so cool, and it's so funny because it's also tangentially tied to the D&D world. Because I reached out to an internet mutual of mine who's the wonderful and lovely Danny Carr, who's an incredible performer. So if you want to see her in a new space, I highly recommend go seek out that old video of ours, because she played Cecily and is just a wonderful performer. Such a pleasure and delight. So yeah, for the next year we were doing drinking game classics of theater every couple of months.
Okay.
And yeah, and then we took a year off because the world came back in kind of a rush. We both work in entertainment, and it got to be too busy and too much, and life was happening like, ugh. So I kind of reached out to her as her life was taken off. She's now doing women's wrestling. So if you want to go seek that out, fans of Pick Your Poison, you can see her on Women of Wrestling. I believe it's WoW, officially. I have to go double check that. Someone will call me out if I'm wrong. But so she was off busy doing that, and I was like, okay, but I want to kind of get back to doing something.
Right.
Can I have the company? And she was like, yeah, of course. And what had happened in that ensuing time as well is I had started going to karaoke at this little bar called the Roguelike Tavern, and uh, I'm a karaoke fiend, and I would be there very late, shooting the shit after karaoke had long ended with the KJ named Mac and the owner of the bar, John. And one of these nights, John just started talking about his dream for the bar. He comes out of the immersive theater world, and he wanted to develop a space for as his bar, as a like a black box theater almost, and start doing shows there. And his little dream was, he's like, I want an in-house Dungeons and Dragons show. And I said, bet. I've been looking for a venue to put on a pub
Funny story.
Yeah, because that was really my goal. Was I was shopping around venues. We had done a digital pub sing, which is weird. It's weird to do music over the internet. I don't recommend it. But we'd done a digital pub sing where we had like people on different screens singing verses, and then we were singing choruses. It was kind of wild. That's also still on the internet. But because again, Ariel and I had come out of the Ren Fair world. I'm ADHD, so I'm sorry. All my stories have 7 tangents.
Fine.
I wanted to take the idea of pub sing, which comes from Ren Fair world, and bring it into the real world, where it's people getting together to sing and to just be in community. So I was like, John, I will trade you. You give me your bar for pub sing, I will create you D&D show. And he didn't believe me, but he said, sure, of course, do that. Yeah, whatever. And a month later, I came back with 2 polished proposals, and I said, I have cast ready and waiting. You just got to give me dates. And he was like, what?
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. So
That's how
how
we
that
got
began. That's the start. Was like this long thing through the pandemic, and then a month of very serious planning.
So what was those first shows like? How did that go? Like, how do you even prepare
Delightful
for something like
chaos.
that? Yeah.
A lot of Google Sheets docs and me just typing and hoping that what I've thought about will work. I had really cool show partners, still do, for the pub sing, who read a backstage listing and were like, yes, this sounds like cool as hell, let's do it. So, we're rehearsing for a month before putting on this first music show. It's like, how do you get a band together on purpose? It's very weird. And then likewise, a bunch of nerds, again, on backstage.com saw me try to describe my concept of what the Rumbles would be, and were like, I love this. Like, yes, let me do this. And then I Zoom interviewed a whole bunch of people, and we just made it happen. The whole thing was like, John's original concept was kind of medieval times, and he wanted like a storyline. And I was like, you can't.
Yeah.
I'm throwing your first idea out. We can't do storyline, but let's do one shots. I was like, we'll just PvP Battle Royale, and that way the audience doesn't have to come every month.
Right.
And you can get a new audience every month. And we'll just flex in wild, crazy characters. And we've really built out what we kind of describe as the magical intersection of WWE and the Hunger Games. Because it's sponsors that are going, I will give you all these magic items and lair actions to keep my hero alive. and then the heroes being absolutely insane and wild, fun characters just putting on a show.
So what was it about that first cast you had that, like, I know you said you had Zoom interviews. Was there any like audition process for that? Was it just like, hey, you're down to try this fucking crazy thing? Let's fucking do it.
It's like, how do you audition people for D&D? Yeah, I did D&D, or I did Zoom interviews, and I think my key questions were the one question that flagged my only red flag person. There was really only one that was a big red flag. So I asked people, when you're doing comedy, could you describe for me kind of your comedy style? Because I was looking for people at that intersection of immersive theater performers and D&D players, which is a slightly specific niche, but there's a good pool. So I was like, describe for me your comedy style, and describe for me the kind of jokes you might not be comfortable making in a bar, in a cool bar, in a cool nerdy bar. Yeah, and luckily that weeded out the one bad apple.
I can only guess what that joke might have been.
Yeah, It was just the general description of, oh, there's nothing I wouldn't say,
Yeah.
People can't take a joke, and I went, done. Okay.
Thank you for applying. We'll reach out to you.
But yeah, that first cast was just, I work a lot through Google Sheets and everything, so I just put up like, I had a little Google Excel sheet where I was like writing my first impressions of people, and then I had their headshots, and I was just kind of like I don't know, playing Tetris with people's headshots because I was really planning out those first three casts all at once. So I was like, out of the pool of people I had, I was like, okay, what personalities do I think will be fun together? And because I'd also asked people, like, what kind of a character might you play? I had an idea of what they might want to bring to this space. So then I'm arranging like character types as well to kind of just get a diverse, cool mix of people. And it thankfully worked out. It was actually kind of wild because one of the people I had originally cast was a longtime friend of mine um, who had also been in our digital shows. And unfortunately, day of, she had popped a fever. And so she called me like crying. I
Yeah.
was like, it's okay. It's okay. I'll figure it out. And I just kind of sat after I hung up on the phone with her for 5 minutes and I went, I know exactly who I'm calling.
Yeah.
And I called another friend of mine, Morgan, who's Attack on Morgan, for those of you on the interwebs, who's just this bomb-ass cosplayer and D&D nerd who's also a theater person who I knew would, A, have a costume ready to go and a character and be ready to just show up and kick ass. She lost, but she did all three of those things otherwise, and was awesome.
So what is that process like for you now? Like, how do you incorporate new people into these shows? I know you have something you said like 50 people that you kind of work with now. How is that whole thing? How do you get from 4 people to what you're at now?
So I've done subsequently like 2 other casting calls, maybe maybe three-ish if you talk about some soft casting calls. Some of it's word of mouth. One of my huge priorities as a casting director is, um, it is a hard line for me that the show should be diverse because it's not a matter of you're scraping the bottom of the barrel to create diversity. It's the pool is wide and deep enough that if you don't have a diverse cast, to me, that is a huge failing. There's incredible performers out there. So one of the only things I've really been casting for after those first couple of calls was just to increase the diversity of our cast. Because I want the table to look like the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that casting that way, I've been, kind of word of mouth, like straight up, I'm looking for performers of color who love D&D and are also kind of from that intersection of D&D and theater nerd. I don't really have a lot of casting needs these days anymore because those first couple of calls I got really a wide pool. I would say I was already at about, well, let me think, we had six, yeah, I was almost at 30 casts the first year.
Wow.
So then it's just been a soft expansion of trying to work new people in and figure out where schedules are and find niches where some people fit. Because some of it I've been able to start passing off the DM role to other people,
Mm-hmm.
which enables me to produce more. So that's allowed me to open up casting. If I'm shifting someone to a primarily dungeon master role, that opens a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then otherwise it's like meeting people and paying attention to kind of our community and finding cool, I don't want to say rising stars like I'm responsible for anyone's star, but you find cool people
Right.
and you go like, please, I'd love to work with you. Like
Yeah.
I was at the San Diego Comic-Con mixer and met this incredible performer and D&D streamer who I hadn't heard of yet but is freaking incredible, Jordan, and I immediately like a month later was like, can I put you in a show? And now she's gonna DM in our event I was describing at the beginning, the Dungeon Descent. She's gonna be one of our DMs. So yeah, it's just meeting people where I can these days, and then finding my little wiggle room to like put them somewhere.
So what are you hoping to, you said you're shifting someone else into the DM spot. Not always, but sometimes. What do you hope to kind of like grow and build with this production company? Where do you see it going? What do you hope to achieve with it?
I mean, the baseline for all of it has always been community. That's the
Uh-huh.
reason I wanted to do the pub sing, was because that's a moment to get people in community together. I'm a chorus kid. There's nothing better than you're singing with a room full of voices, and our pub sing shows have been that exactly. And then likewise, same for the D&D stuff. It's building community. It's and that's been one of the really lovely things that I've had feedback from my players. of people coming up to me after the shows and saying, I love this, I love the community we're building here. Um, so my main goals for going forward is figuring out how to grow, period. Like we only do nine of the rumbles a year,
Mhm.
so that severely limits my casting abilities. It's hard to grow a stable number of players. It's 37 seats, and I have a roster of 45. So it's creating other opportunities like the Dungeon Descents. We're gonna work on doing more streamed shows and more
Mhm.
narrative driven shows because we have this amazing pool of players from across the D&D and theater world who are amazing storytellers, and the rumbles are about showmanship. They're not necessarily a story. They're
Right.
story for sure, but it's not those intimate moments that I think a lot of us crave from Dungeons and Dragons. So we're going to be working on trying to get more streamed narrative driven shows going with the pool we have, and therefore creating more opportunities for people. I just want to find ways to create a kind of a stable, healthy growth that enables me to use more of the people I have and also bring more people into it. And that includes our audience. One of the really cool things about the Dungeon Descent event is like we got our what is usually our audience to be the heroes that night. And this one guy, like, he wrote while someone else was doing their role, he wrote an epic, inspiring speech and then did that. And so then we have this whole bar full of just patrons, usually, like becoming, heroes in arms together. And I think that's especially what we're gonna need more of going forward. It's just, yeah, community building. Trying to figure out how to make this also economically stable.
Right.
So I think one of the things that does set us apart is I also have a hard line of everybody gets paid.
Yeah.
Part of what has limited growth. We've been really lucky in the last couple of years to get sponsored for a lot of our shows because we are out of a bar. We can get sponsorships through alcohol sales, which enables me to pay people a low but higher than most
Yeah.
base rate. Um, and then, the tips from the audience gets split between everybody who's a part of a show,
Mhm.
which that up a little higher. Because at the end of the day, we are making art, and I think artists deserve to get paid.
Absolutely. I actually have a few questions.
Yeah.
Number one, I think what I want to ask is, does the story of each bar episodes, I'm going to just call it bar episodes because I feel like that's just for the what I'm going to get to. Does each bar episode, the storyline continue, or is each? I know they're all one shots, but is there a overarching storyline for repeat customers? Say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they are ultimately connected because it is a tournament.
Right.
So each game has a winner, and then the winners come together and play a couple of elimination matches, and then so right now the game we're actually doing next week is the only game this year that's not a part of that tournament style because it's returning champions. It's more to fill the monthly slot without
Mhm.
adding a new champion. It's come watch some of the old heroes like go at it, which is fun. But otherwise, yeah, there's a continuous storyline, and every player that comes in is welcome to also add to our world. So the world we play in is Las Asimas, which is, the magical Los Angeles, because that's where we are. Uh, and I have a little world building document that if people add a new hometown, gets added to there. So we've got parodies of pretty much every major Los Angeles area, borough, neighborhood, whatever you want to call them. We, my partner's character is, I think, one of the most beloved little add-ins to the world. It's Dismayland.
Jesus.
Um, yeah, yeah. So we've even got like new players coming in. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Dismayland." Fun. And we got like the Hazelwood Hills and the Lowland Lee, which is the little heart center of the valley. Um, I don't, all that. Brightheim is like Castaic. Yeah, you'd have to be from Los Angeles to care about any of this, but we have a world, and that gets built out as each hero comes in, and then they decide rivalries, and we've had people fall in love during the Rumble, and they come back and they've broken up, and yeah, as the characters come back, they each have their own little storyline that carries. So if you're interested in coming back and rooting for the same hero over and over, We try to bring them back. We've had a few people from season one. Actually, in fact, Morgan, who I was talking about, was ended up in our first game, uh, lost 3 more times, and then finally won this year. So she is now a current champion. She'll be in the elimination match, which will take place after our December game. So we have one more main game in the tournament, and then we'll do some elimination matches before the championship in January.
So I know you want to kind of like add in streamed shows, just purely streamed shows.
Yeah.
How is that going to be its own storyline, or is it going to be like how are you going to negotiate those two things?
So we've done it already.
Yeah.
We have a couple of episodes of the Rumble Ventures, which is other adventures in the world of Las Asimas, which has basically been some of the heroes like coming to the bar and actually getting a quest instead of going to the arena that's in the bowels of the underside of the bar. This is all in the world of it. They just come and check out the quest board and like, yeah, I'm between rumbles. I need a job. Like, so we've had a couple of that, and so one of our I think our most popular out of those episodes was a lot of the kind of fan favorite heroes getting together to go after a villain in one of their backstories.
Okay.
So it's the Revengers Rumble, and they go on a little quest for revenge, and it's a freaking blast. They're all a hoot and a half, and so there's more of that storyline that we could play out. And then yeah, I kind of threw it out to the cast. We have a Discord for the cast.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, like, guys, if you got one shots or your own campaign ideas that you want to bring to the table, and I've had a number of people reach out and say, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm like, I love all of this. We're going to figure it out one way or another. I was kind of hoping some of that would start this month, but it might need to end up waiting till December or the new year, depending on timing. But yeah, so some of it I think will flesh out the world. Some of it might start building other people's worlds. Because I want to build up our platform. I want to build up what we offer online. Because we have so many things that are live only.
Yeah.
I want to put more of it in the interwebs where everyone can get to it.
So is there a goal for an overarching long form storytelling, or is it still going to be very much like episodic almost in your plan?
I think it's a little bit dual because everything we do is dual. I want to give as many opportunities to as many people as possible. That's the goal of it. So kind of building up our platform to allow as many people to tell stories as want to and as are able. I know kind of the D&D bubble is flush and full, but there's still infinite stories to tell and infinite people who want to listen,
And so this is going to be all on, just to plug your channel,
PickYouPoison Productions.
It's all going to be there, correct?
It's going to be there. That's the plan. And we then later post to YouTube as well. Since doing everything on Twitch. For a while we were streaming live to YouTube and then later streaming to Twitch, and that was a nightmare. Yeah. Which, for the record, let me also just plug our videographer. John at the Roguelike connected me with Danny from Black X Media, who's the one that's made it all possible to live stream out of the bar to begin with. And he taught me everything about OBS. For budget reasons, we're having to cut out the pub sing. Used to be streamed live as well. It will still be streamed live, but of a lesser quality. But the Roguelike Rumbles, Danny's going to continue to stream for us. He's got such a freaking cool setup. He's cut us an awesome deal that lets me pay him as well. And yeah, he just does this freaking fantastic. He's worked out over the last, 2.5 years, the crazy logistics of streaming a live show out of a packed bar on limited bandwidth. Yeah. And he does a great job. So yeah, we're gonna keep that one going, and then we'll also start doing some streaming of our own. Now, when you start getting the I'll say the internet streams going, is there a plan to do others? I know you want to tell a bunch of stories. Do you have other systems that you want to try? Is there like a Call of Cthulhu game you have planned or want to do? There's some of that. Some of the pitches I have received are for other systems. Mm-hmm. We also have a game that we've been doing. tandem between cons and live out of the bar and sometimes just on stream. We were running a Dreadful marathon all October. That is our horror show. So that is our homebrew adapted version of the Dread TTRPG, which is played, if you're unaware, with a Jenga tower or an unlicensed stacking tower. So we did that first for Midsummer Scream Con. They were having a D&D themed convention one year, 2 years ago. And one of their directors had come to some of our shows and was like, we want a tabletop show at the con. Can you do the Rumble there? And I went, I can't, because the Rumble is specifically for the roguelike, but I will build you something else. So we did Dreadful, and we told a very scary ghost story with these stacking towers, and I just had the audience pull tower blocks. And so we've now done that at their con twice and at the roguelike once, and then a couple of just straight up streams. When we first did the online stream, we did that with kids on bikes. But we all love kids on bikes for other things. We ended up not loving it for what we're doing. So we very recently, we aired a new episode of Dreadful on Halloween that went back to using our homebrew of Dreadful, and I found an online Jenga tower. So despite the fact that we couldn't all be in a live place with an audience, we could still pull tower blocks and have them fall, which was a ton of fun.
Okay, so you brought up cons. I want to kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
You're massive in the con space. What was
You're very sweet.
What was that? When did you first start going to cons? I know you said you started with Ren fairs, and like Ren fairs and cons are tangentially connected, I guess. So what was like how did we get into cons? How do we start doing all these things? The cosplays that you're obviously insane cosplays that you do. How do we get to that point?
Do you have a seatbelt on your chair?
No, but I got a pillow.
Okay, you might need it. Hold on. DashCon.
What the fuck is DashCon?
Oh no. So you're gonna go on a Google spree after this. Ooh, I had that information. Nobody copied what was just on my screen. DashCon is the Tumblr convention that went down in infamy back in 2014.
Okay.
It had Welcome to Night Vale, Doug Jones, Steampunk Giraffe. Is that the right name of the band? Anyway, I might put the wrong band. Anyway, it was supposed to be the Tumblr Con, and it ended up being the Fire Festival, sort of. Strange Aeons has just done this year for the 10-year anniversary of DashCon. Just did a wonderful video, kind of breaking it all down. In some ways, it was a decently successful con. In other ways, it was an absolute tragedy, and the failings of the admin are certainly many and numerous. But I met Doug Jones there, and I got to hang out with him, and he's like warm spaghetti and gives the best hugs, and is just absolutely lovely as a human being.
Okay.
So that was my first con. I was a panelist. And yeah, it's just sad. It's sad that it doesn't have the impact for you, but for some people on the internet, they hear that and they're like, you were where? Yeah, that was my first con. And so then after that, I did Dragon Con for the first time, which I think is a bit more well-known.
A little bit.
And it's the party con, but it's also the huge cosplay con. And yeah, I started going to that also in 2014. Missed several years while I was working Ren fairs professionally, and then got to return in 2021. And yeah, and then everything else is like kind of as I've been freed of the demands of road life, I have been able to start adding more and more cons to my roster.
Okay, we're gonna dive into this con train, but we're gonna take a quick break real quick. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Whitney's in the chat, and
hell yeah, and Dawn.
Yeah, all these people. Love you guys. We'll be right back. See you in a minute. that transition fast. All right, we're back. um, okay, so this trash can fire of a con, dumpster fire of a con is your first con experience, and then we go to Dragon Con, which is obviously a lot more insane in a good way.
Yeah.
What are we doing? How do we get into the cosplay function of it and start doing all these different things?
I mean, I one of my side gigs while putting myself through my master's program was as a costumer. I worked both in the costume shop at the college I was going to, and because I've been taught to sew from a young age, and I worked actually Ren Fair was my first ever job. I worked the Ren Fair all through high school and college, as just like one of the boothies kind of a thing, not as a performer. So I'd had to make my own costuming for that. And I'd been doing it for community theater for years and all that stuff. So like finally getting in the invite into the cosplay space, because I had known people that went to Dragon Con all because I went to high school in Georgia, high school and college in Georgia. But it was one of those things where I felt like the kid with their face on the glass. Like I would hear these people that I knew talk about it, but I'd never felt brave enough to like go by myself or invite myself along kind of a thing. I just went like, oh, that sounds so cool. And then yeah, I ended up having a partner who went to Dragon Con, and that was kind of my first inroad there. And it was interesting coming back to it once I no longer had that partnership, because it was a thing I wanted to like claim for myself, and that's what I feel like I did in 2021 when I first went back post not really post-pandemic, but because we were all still wearing masks, or at least the good kids were. But yeah, getting to kind of like claim that space as my own, and the friends that I made there as my own, and yeah, that's kind of what cosplay ended up being, was like kind of this reclamation of creative life for me after leaving the situation that I had been in, because it was a thing I'd been doing for silly jokes on the internet for years. The spin gif was my first like actual cosplay, and it was just me throwing a jacket on over a Wonder Woman t-shirt I had, but it worked. And then I built up from there. Yeah. I don't know how else, I don't know if that all makes kind of sense the way I've told it, but it was a claiming of creative life for me, and an outlet for myself, and finally getting to like dress up and be the kind of people I wanted to be.
So what is it about cosplay that, I know it's expression of yourself, as you just said, but like what what about that just brings you the joy that it does?
I mean, so again, musical theater nerd. Finishing the Hat. If you're at all familiar with Sunday in the Park with George, the sheer act of creation is so satisfying as a costumer, and I think more so. So the way I tend to do cosplay is I'm usually not following a like canon design.
Okay.
For the most part, I tend to draw my own designs and do my own thing. The only one that I've really strayed from that on, be like I used to do Disney princesses, and for that, you're trying to be as exact as possible. Right. Because I also used to work with princess party companies where you're trying to recreate to match the parks. And then like my Destiny cosplay this past year, because I'm a video game nerd as well. I was trying, to exactly match the game, but in some sense that's still an original design, because I've chosen which of the armor pieces I'm putting on and which shader I'm using, so I've like customized it. So yeah, the sheer act of creation itself, and of getting to like imagine something and then make it real, is just utterly satisfying. And then getting to put it on, and that sometimes takes hours. But then getting, to take pictures and be with friends, and that's part of what I love about Dragon Con, is it's so cosplay centric that for folks like me, it's just we're putting on the outfit and then we're being in the outfit with our friends, and that's it, and that's the con. It's just like, look what I made, look what you made, look what they made. Yeah, it's really, it's the best.
So what is the crossover then for Pick Your Poison Productions and your con career, I guess, of doing all these things. Like, do you want to bring more of Pick Your Poison into the cons, or do you want to keep those two separate?
I'd love to, but that's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah.
You know, my friend Whitney, who I believe is in the chat, she and I pitched some panels that or at least she fully got the pitches in that we helped design together, and I slacked and I didn't quite get all of my pitches in. But you know, we're trying to find ways to like bring the conversations we're having about Dungeons and Dragons and the nerd spaces in general into cons. I'd love to do more panels. I'd love to get my wheels in gear and actually pitch doing some more like shows at cons. Like we did Dreadful originally for a con that unfortunately we won't be able to return to this year for timing. It's at the same time as another event most of our cast work, but I'd love to do some Rumble adjacent stuff at like a PAX U or a WonderCon in the future. But I think I have to just be careful about how I measure that all out, because I also don't. I have friends who primarily are panelists at cons, and I see the strain and the stress of them, you know, being dictated a schedule whenever
Yeah.
their panels are, and having to be present at all of those, and then they're missing out on some of the con stuff. Whitney and I were both delighted and appreciated getting invited to do a Bridgerton TTRPG at DragonCon this year with the tabletop track there, which was super fun and great. And we ended up like kind of letting that guide the way we dressed for the evening. So she kind of did a lightly Laren-esque from Critical Role outfit, and I did a lightly Vexalia outfit. And then we, after we did that panel, fully transformed into the cosplay versions of ourselves and went and cosplayed for the rest of the evening. But yeah, that was kind of enough. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to spend the most of my con hopping panel to panel. It was
Right.
nice to do like one and then go back to conning.
So there's no intention then to like make a business with the cons and Pick Your Poison. It's kind of like tangentially
yeah.
just touch each other.
Yeah, I think the opportunity will have to feel right and be kind of functional in some
Yeah.
ways. Like, yeah, I'd love to promote more of what we're doing, but right now I'm so much more focused on continuing to build out what we're doing that I'm less worried about, you know, let's have a presence at all of these cons. I'm like, let's really build what we have and grow out from there a bit more. Oh, thank you to the friend. It's like the fits were immaculate. You're much appreciated. I don't want to mispronounce your URL, and I don't know if I've ever heard it said out loud. Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to masticate the URL. But...
Oh, I just fuck with Hans all the time.
Great.
I think it's Hans is how she does it, but
That's
I don't care.
why I didn't want to say
I don't
it.
care because I will call her Hans forever. You know what you
Hans
fucking
or
did.
Hans. You rock. But yeah, I you know, I discussed with John if he's cool with me, the owner of the roguelike, if he's cool with me pitching like a Rumble style event for cons, because I would have been interested in doing that at PAX U,
Right.
but if not this year, maybe next year we'll pitch it out. And I've worked sometimes with like Pirate Borg, who are some great guys, and I kind of want to keep talking to them. I had pitched some panel ideas that I didn't hear back from, but when I'm DMing games for them or harbor mastering games for them this year at PAX U, I'll twist their arm in person, see if they let me pitch some panels. Because I have some ideas for fun panels that get interactive with the audience. Because as a con goer, I haven't always been a great panel attendee.
Right.
Because sometimes I kind of tune out, and I'm like, oh, I'm in this chair. I want to do panels like I do shows.
Yeah.
I want it to be interactive. I want the audience to have a place for it. Like again, when we do Dreadful, the audience is pulling the blocks, and we have these giant D20s that they every now and again are rolling instead of the performers. I want to do more stuff like that.
So, what is the Roguelike Tavern? They own. Say it one more time for me. What is the name of the show for the Roguelike Tavern?
The Roguelike Tavern and the Roguelike Rumbles.
Roguelike Rumbles. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's a deal you have exclusively with Roguelike Tavern.
Yes. We John and I sat down and we've drawn up a whole contract and everything. what we are doing for them is an exclusive
Okay.
type event. But I have his permission to uh, do Rumble adjacent events as a promotion, get
Right.
more people both to the bar and on the stream. And also, I am, I am limitlessly creative. I will say that. And you know what? So is tabletop. There are so many ways to do a tabletop show. If I found another space or another place where I wanted to do something, if I had another idea, I have I have no concerns, and John doesn't either. Like I I can go and create something for somebody else if
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there a space for you to create more shows with different venues? Is there a plan for that, or is it just like
there's not a plan because I'm too busy. My little seed dream is that I find a way to make all of what we're doing some way financially solvent.
Yeah.
Or somebody sees it and they want to, Borg us into their entity. I'm open. Drop out, you need more content, I got you. We're right in your area. Come and get me. You know, Critical Role, same. You got Beacon, I got content. Come on. I have had no overtures from either of those companies. Let me put that right out there.
But you all need to go and tweet them right now.
Yeah, tweet immediately.
Fucking right now.
We want the rumbles on Beacon. Pay Sarah barrels of money. Yeah, I mean, I work a day job. I'm in my day office right now. Like, the big seed dream is figuring out a way to make this creative stuff financially stable.
Right.
Because again, it's a hard line for me. Like we pay people for what we're doing, and I think everybody should get paid for art. And the online streams we might start doing will be unfortunately unpaid until we can find a way to make money. But it's one of those chicken and the egg things. Like in order to get the ability for people to subscribe to you, you have to have so many hours of streaming. And I think what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years is building up a cool community that understands my dreams and my hopes and trusts me enough to keep working and creating with me, and knowing that if they it's not exactly a pay to play in the sense of like you gotta work for me to get other opportunities.
Right.
I hope that I have earned enough trust from the folks that have been working with me so far that they know like we'll create this, and if you're creating this with me, I'm taking you with me.
Yeah.
I'm never pulling up the ladder behind myself. I'm grabbing as many people, like, hold on to me, kids, let's go. Little magic school bus, let's get everybody in here. Yeah, that's the long-term dream. It's not so much about building up con presence as building up a way to just keep creating and to hopefully do less of the day job and more of the creating.
I mean, we're coming up to the end here. Is there any projects or collaborations that you really want to do, especially like getting this production company off the ground, as far as like coming more into the internet AP space, which has its own cliques and characters and all these people? Is there any, well, number one, is there any hurdles you've come across trying to come into this space, and is there any creators that you love to work with in this space?
I think the biggest hurdle is me drawing the hard line financially, like that people get paid for their work, which means a lot of the back end stuff is dependent on me because I'm one of the only people I will allow to work for free. But I've been really lucky to have cool people like, again, Danny, my filmographer with Black Ass Media. He's taught me a lot about OBS. Other friends have taught me other ways to do online streams better, and I will be testing out what I've learned from them. I don't think I could speak aloud my dream wishes for collaboration. I'll say, like, I've already had some of those dreams fulfilled. Like, one of my, again, the intersection of theater and nerdery. One of my longtime hometown friends, Damien Hawes, agreed to be in one of our shows this year. Like, that was a dream, because he's a longtime friend, but he's a cool online person who does nerd shit. So it was, it was one of those where I was waiting long enough to ask him, like, hey, you wanna come do my thing? And I got to DM him, and that was such a freaking blast. It was so fun to like just get to play a game with a friend of mine, um, who is also a cool person in space. And I think, yeah, I mean, my dream, I think, would ultimately be to find a way to include all of my friends, because I constantly have friends that are like, God, I'd love to do the Rumbles. How do we get on there? One of it is you just got to be in Los Angeles for that show. Once I start doing more online stuff, that'll open the doors wide open.
Right.
But like it lucked out, like Whitney was a dream person to work with, and she fucking timed out a trip to Los Angeles to be in one of the shows, and that was
Yeah.
like amazing, incredible. Same when we were doing Dreadful. B, um, I'm gonna say the wrong URL for them. Um, has been going by Ben Newsom professionally. Ben does D&D, I believe, is still the handle. Ben does D&D, it sure
Yes.
is.
I believe
They came out from the Isle of Man for our first Dreadful show at Midsummer Scream. They weren't specifically there just for that, but the timing worked out. And then we were able to coordinate it again this past February. Yeah, I'd love to get as many of them. I want to pay my friends for D&D. Please let me pay you for D&D. I just gotta find the time and the space. That's the dream.
So what kind of advice would you give to people like coming up in the space if they're, looking to make their mark in this geek space? Like what kind of advice would you give for them?
Be a friend always. I think one of my only areas of chafe in the space has been I won't name the con. Some people will figure it out, but we were talking earlier about a con we might not return to.
I'll say its fucking name. It's Gen Con.
Great. Okay. Yeah, there were just times at that con this year where at other cons I would not have felt any trepidation walking around a space. I would have felt welcome. People will start conversations with strangers, and it was full on click style. Like I felt like I was back in middle school, and the popular kids didn't want me to sit with them.
Yeah.
I did not feel welcome to initiate conversations. Conversations I tried to initiate, I got cold shoulders or weird looks. Boy, did I hate that. Whereas, like, PAX U, I'm looking forward to returning to, because the Marriott bar at the end of the nights every night was just people getting to know one another. And I've added I added a whole ton of cast from both PAX U and from WonderCon last year, because it was just people chatting up, and I found out that they fill that weird little niche that I have, and that they were down to come play, and they lived in the area or were close enough, Yeah, I don't think we should allow our space to have room for unkindness. So I think if you want to join the space, you want to be part of it, just be freaking nice. Please be nice. Cause yeah, we're all out here playing pretend. We're little kids, some of us playing dress up. But all of us are out here playing pretend. I don't think we get to be assholes about that.
I want to ask you about that because, I mean, how long have you been realistically, how long have you been doing the con scene, the con space as a creator?
Technically, as a professional creator, it started with that first con, DashCon,
Right.
because I was a panelist. I was there appearing, so that's full on 10 years.
Okay, so you've been doing it a lot longer than I have. So I want to ask, like, why does a bunch of geeks, which is what we all are, who in high school or throughout this group of people who, especially at least when I was coming up through high school, which is long fucking time ago, like, what makes us become the people we hated?
Not to
Why
get
is that
political,
a thing?
but power corrupts absolutely, and that continues in nerd spaces.
Yeah.
When we give people platforms, you will find out their true character one way or another, and that sucks. But then, it actually doesn't have to corrupt absolutely, because then you see creators like Chapel Roan's having a moment right now, where she's setting really fucking cool boundaries as a person, as a performer, as a creator. Um, I think she'd be a cool hang because she has self-awareness. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard because you get to a certain level of notoriety or knownness. I think you have to draw boundaries
Yeah.
that enable your safety. Like I go by Sarah Durnesque instead of my legal name for safety reasons that I have needed since before I was a known entity on the internet. Sadly. Uh, and then some of those problems got worse when I had the smallest measure of notoriety. So like I have learned we sometimes you have to draw boundaries, and sometimes those boundaries can look like standoffishness.
Mhm.
But I think then also I have known enough people, like my friend Damien, who have drawn really hard boundaries for their safety and personal needs, and yet are still warm and friendly. And I've watched them interact with pure fans who don't know them on a friend level at all, and they are just as kind and just as compassionate. Um, yeah, I think you just gotta hold your hold your kindness tight and don't let it go for anything or anyone.
Okay. Hmm. I feel like that's a whole other conversation we can have, and I'm gonna
That's my
let
whole
it go.
soapbox.
I'm gonna let it go for now. Um, is there like a pivotal moment in your career or a turning point that it's kind of shaped the way you approach content creation at this point?
I mean, I think I think there are many small moments that, for the most part, stemmed out of my Ren Fair work. Um, which was, being on a stage or in the lanes for hours at a time, being a character, and yet finding these moments of making connection with the people that were participating in the work, that were coming out to Ren Fairs, enjoying the show, and those pub sings, like, and then that's continued then in these pub sings we've been doing live in the bar here, of like just the connection through art has been so clear. Like it's so funny. It was shaped by my earlier experiences, but I think the best one that I could like a crystalline moment I could put on it. So last year during the WGA strikes, um, we were doing a pub sing on the night that the strike lifted, that
Uh-huh.
a negotiation was reached, which was fucking powerful. And more powerful than that, the next song on our set list was Solidarity Forever,
Okay.
which is a song we had added to the set because
Everything,
we're a
yeah.
union strong town and a
Right.
union strong bar. And it's just fucking magical to be able to announce that the strike was over and start singing. Um, those are the moments that I look for in art, where art is a part of our reality, and um, yeah, carrying on the legacy of a strike song, because that's what Solidarity Forever is.
Uh-huh.
It comes out of our long American Union history. We were carrying history forward by bringing it into our set and teaching it to people that had never heard it before, and hearing, you know, a bar full of voices proudly singing that song out is fucking delightful. And it's that I think crystallizes why I want to keep making art and why I want to make art that drives community and community building.
Well, I think in lieu of that, I want to ask our final question here.
Yeah.
What message or impact do you hope to leave through your content on the geek space?
Yeah, the only legacy I can hope to leave is that I did what I set out to do, which is to build community. And um it's funny, part of my weird little backstory we didn't even touch on, but other people know. Once upon a time, I thought I was going to be a youth minister. Um,
How
took
did
a
we
hard
miss
left
this
at Ren
part?
Fair. I know. That's sorry. It's too much backstory. It's too deep. The water's too wide. Um, but the reason I had ever wanted to do that is because I have my whole life thought that community and connection will save us. knowing who your neighbor is makes you care about your neighbor.
Yes.
There's not much religion left in me, but that's still there. Yeah, that's all I want to leave, is that I created spaces that people felt safe to come and be themselves in and be together in, and to get to know people they never got to know. One of the fun joys about on nights when the roguelike rumbles or the pub sing are packed, people will wander in by themselves or maybe with one friend, and they'll be like, God, where are we gonna sit? Where are we gonna sit? And we'll find a table that has a couple of seats and be like, these are your new friends. You're sitting with these people now. And they just will, and they'll just do it. And people know that's how it works. You can't save a whole booth for 3 people. We're gonna add 3 or 4 more to join you because we need the seats, and it is what it is. And so I've been gratified that, like, not only have my players made friends and friendships that they've carried outwards, but our audience members have. Was actually just having that conversation with a friend at a party on Tuesday. They were telling me that they now have these other friends that they met when I forced them into a chair. I was like, you've come to the show, you're sitting here, these are your new friends. And they are now friends.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to end the interview portion of this evening. If you have questions for Sarah, go ahead and start getting those in the chat. While we're waiting for those questions to come in, you also, if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, and you see a guest that you want to talk to, you can shoot me those messages on New Age Cosplay or New Age Geeks. I see those messages. I can ask those questions to our guests for the evening, which happened for the first time. I actually got a message on Instagram to ask you, Sarah, but we'll get to that.
Amazing.
For now, we're going to go into our dicey question segment while those questions come in. My brain don't work no good. So I need you to go ahead and roll me a d20.
Hell yeah. I'm rolling digital dice, so everyone knows it's profane, but it is what it is. I thought I had my dice, but I don't. It is, however, an 18.
Well, you're blaspheming. It's fine. Actually, my favorite question on this list. What is your favorite Studio Ghibli film?
Ooh, oh, wonderful. Kiki's Delivery Service.
Why?
Hands down.
Why?
Because I'm a little hearth witch and I love it. I'm sadly a little gluten-free hearth witch, and bread is the bane of my existence and all my joy. There's something about that film that I live out over and over and over again, and that is the process of burnout.
Yeah.
As I think this interview has illuminated one way or another, I do a lot all the time.
You don't
constantly.
say.
Yeah. And that has led me to points of burnout frequently. And it's a lesson I have to keep teaching myself and reminding myself that rest is as important as creation. You can't pour from an empty cup, the other longtime metaphor. Yeah. I love that film. It's homey and it's happy. It's so funny. One of my first memories of ever watching that film was we were in a hotel room with my sisters just scanning through channels, and I saw like the intro of Kiki's Delivery Service, and I said out loud, "Oh, I love this movie." And I genuinely have no other memory of ever watching it before then.
First time ever seen it.
So I don't know if it really was, or if I had seen it at some point and my subconscious went, "We love this film." But it's so funny to me that that's one of my first memories of that film. My very sweet partner bought me the little Hot Topic like bread sign that they make for her in the window.
Yeah,
they have a little wooden plaque of it, and that now sits in my kitchen.
Do you bake your own bread? That's the next question here.
I do, but I more frequently bake cookies and all. I've been in my baking season because I work a haunt during October, and I like to we almost always we have like weekly birthdays, so I like to celebrate by baking something for the cast every week. And luckily, I was not the only gluten-free person this year, so most of my bakes were gluten-free, so I could also eat them.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and give me another d20 roll.
Hell yeah. Oh, it was almost a 3, but it is a 17. The online dice love me.
All right. What is your default character on Mario Kart or Super Smash Bros?
Oh, the blue Kirby. for Super Smash Bros.
Why? Why the blue
Uh,
Kirby? That is
because I
so
love.
specific.
I know. This is also a partner in my conversation. This is actually one of the first conversations my partner and I had was like, "Who's your Smash Brothers character?" I always took the blue one because I most frequently played with my best friend Mary growing up. Well, my older sister Emma and our shared best friend Mary, which was really that Mary was Emma's best friend, and I also always wanted to be there. But I forget which one of them. One of them would always want to be Kirby also. So by default, I had to change the color, and I just liked the blue color the best.
I'm not a big Smash Bros. Player, but isn't
Yeah.
Kirby like the one that flies and is the worst to play against?
Maybe the worst to play against. Yeah, he can also suck you up and swallow you
Huh.
and turn into your powers.
So you cheat, is it? That's what I'm getting here. You're a cheater.
Yeah, that's it.
Monster. You're a monster. Give me another D20 roll. We've got a couple questions in already, so we'll maybe do one or
Amazing.
two more questions, and then we'll jump over to those.
I also know, I think one of my friends misunderstood the prompt and just wrote it on the Instagram post. I don't know if that's the question you
Oh,
got,
I
but
can check
I
there.
will. Yeah. Oh, it's a 3. Less good, less good.
3. You have a team of 4 to save the world. Who are you picking?
Ooh.
This can be
Of
from
real people?
any media, any
Oh, okay.
anime, anything you want.
I mean, I think you have to take the WandaVision version of the Scarlet Witch because like infinite cosmic power. But she also seems like she could be convinced of world saving. She's not totally evil.
Uh-huh.
Um, I've also just been rewatching that, so that's top of mind. Um, probably Nina from the So You Want to Be a Wizard series by Diane Dune. Which, if you're unfamiliar, is a good replacement for the Turf series.
Okay.
Wonderful growing up wizard series. Uh, but yeah, again, just another magic person who is an incredible spell worker. And then I'd probably also have to take her little sister, Daring, who I more self-identify with as a younger sister, who's like developed a sentient computer planet through her own magic. So she's baller, and I think the two of them together could solve any problem. And then you're just extra fuel with the Scarlet Witch. And then, God, I'm trying to think who's the fourth person that rounds that all out. Can we just straight up take Lupita Nyong'o because she's beautiful and I think a morally sound being? Is
Yeah,
that a full
fuck it.
hero team?
Yeah.
three witches and Lupita for soundness of mind and a calming voice.
What is each one of these people? What role is each one of these people playing? We got Lupita as the calming voice.
Yeah, I think she's the voice of leadership. She's just telling the witches what to do.
Okay.
Nita and Darian are like the problem solving situation, and then Wanda is the muscle slash the fuel, the raw cosmic power.
Where are you in this team? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm sidelined. I'm tech ops. I'm on the phone. Like I have no. I mean, I'll hold an axe and I'll swing a sword because I can, but like, what am I doing next to them? I don't know. I've organized the team. I'm the producer. I've already done it.
Okay, you're dressing up. You can become any character out of the ones you've cosplayed to join the team. Who is it?
Ooh. I mean, I think it would have to be Wonder Woman on sheer abilities, cause magic and power. But I think really I'd want to be Vex because I want to be that hot all the time, and also a super cool ranger with a bear.
Fair enough. All right, give me one more D20 roll.
These are all great questions. I love this.
I'm glad you're enjoying
Now I'm
it.
gonna like ask everyone I know these questions. Less good. 4.
Okay, who is your favorite character in sci-fi or fantasy?
Oh, it's boring to keep saying Wonder Woman.
Hey, I'm gonna make you justify it. You can pick Wonder Woman, but I need you to justify it.
I'm trying to think. I mean, BB-8. A flawless droid.
What?
Oh, yeah. Look, we all know it's Wonder Woman. That's the top of the list, and
Right.
I think the reasons are also obvious. I think if we're going for all through all of sci-fi and fantasy though, I just love me that fucking little loyal ass droid with attitude, and I mean I love all the droids. The R2D2 chaos and cussing. Chopper is absolutely I'm
I was
gonna
gonna
wreck
say
your life.
it's Chopper is
Um,
easily the winner.
I'm going to cause problems on purpose. Um, yeah, I mean, can I take just all the droids? Can I just have all of them? Can they
Just a
all be my
fucking
favorite?
rock out with a
Yeah.
team of droids.
Yeah.
I
I
accept that
mean,
answer.
my car is nicknamed Dio, and I have a little Dio sticker that says "No, thank you." I also personally identify with frequently.
Jesus. Okay. Uh,
Sometimes you don't want to be hugged, okay?
we've learned a lot about you today, Sarah.
Yes, we have.
Okay. That is going to bring us to the end of the dicey question segment. We're going to dive into our viewer questions. We have a few so far. It's not too late if you have a question for Sarah, go ahead and throw it in the chat. We're going to get to all the questions that are asked. But for now, we will ask the questions we have in the chat. This is from Hans Kate, who you took the pictures up with in Gen Con. She was the one wearing the Raven Queen outfit, and you took quick
It's so
pictures.
fucking
Phenomenal
sick.
costume.
Some of the edits on those pictures have been.
Yes. If you could exist in any fantasy world for a day, which one would it be?
I mean, I think realistically, Diane Dune's brand of wizardry is my favorite because it's very grounded in reality and it seems very attainable. Because it comes from a book. And if you're unfamiliar with it, there's the concept that wizards there kind of inherently know and then can learn more of what they call the speech, which is the language of the universe and everything speaks it. And some people specialize in like plants or animals, but like also machines. Like one of the characters when he's on a flight, he can like, or I guess it's when I think it's when the lead character, one of the lead characters, the girl is actually on a plane. She can like hear the plane being excited about taking off. I think living in a world like that would be a little frightening because everything would suddenly be capable of talking to you, but also kind of exciting. Um, to be able to like hear the universe and also manipulate it. I think would be really cool. And I
Okay.
think I'd be less likely to die on day one.
What would your speech be if you could talk to any group of things?
I mean, I think I'd be immediately communicating with my phone and computer because I'm never far from them. So, just be like, how do you feel about all these selfies I take? Can you just tell me when I've hit the right angle? And
Listen, man, we got to work together here.
you're in this.
What is the dream cosplay to make at some point?
I mean, I think my dreams are constantly achieved. Like I only dream up one cosplay. That's not true. But primarily I like focus on one cosplay and I don't stop dreaming it until I've made it. So like right now the dream is floating between refining my fire fern and getting it to where I want it because I'm not fully satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna work on doing some of that for PAX U, so there'll be a slightly updated version debuting there. And then the next like really like big dream is me and Whitney have both been talking about for years. We each have, I know I won't share her dream, but we have these video game cosplays that we want to really work on to a professional level. I am known for con crunching. I am known for not giving myself time until 3 weeks or sometimes a week before a con. I really, my dream is really to like follow up on my own promises and lock down hard and build a better Destiny cosplay. I have a new outfit I've been running with this year that I think would be contest worthy if I sit and I make it so. But I have to work on it more than 3 weeks before the con.
I want to ask because you talked about PAX again, and you brought PAX up with cosplays.
Yeah.
I last year was my first PAX, right? Did not seem like a cosplay con.
It's not.
So, what are you trying to bring that into it? Are you wearing cosplays every day? What's your plan?
No. I think my plan will be very similar to last year. I'll be primarily DMing Pirate Borg the first day, so I'll be in a loose like pirate kind of outfit because
Hmm.
I think it's more fun to dress up for both me and my players. And then because I have been invited there as a creator, I want to show up as part of what I am known for. So I will be in a cosplay the second day on Saturday. I have there's a small community there that's trying to bring more cosplay, and there was like a Critical Role shoot there last year, so I wore um, my updated effects and had a great time. And yeah, it was weird to be at a con where it's so not a cosplay
Yeah.
con. Um, but yeah, I don't mind standing out a little bit. And then yeah, Saturday I'll just be real, or Sunday I'll be real casual, and it'll be what it'll be.
Hmm. And you, I'm assuming since you said you went to the Critical Role cosplay, then you know Kate the Great.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I've been in touch, and so far there is not a set time or
Yes.
place. I'm hoping it's Saturday if it happens, and if it's not, it is. I'll
Yeah.
be there anyway.
Okay, cool. We'll talk through that then, because
Yeah.
we can make sure. It's like everyone's like, just reaches out to Kate, like, when are we doing the thing?
What are you doing? Yeah, I know. I felt bad I was bothering her, but it's because we got handed our DM schedules, and Borg wanted me working at like 10 a.m. on Saturday, and I was like, I'll still be putting makeup on, so
I'll still be
that's
asleep.
not going to work. Takes about 5 hours to get into Fern, so
Oh my god.
yeah. For Dragon Con, I had to wake up at 7, and we were barely at the 12 o'clock shoot, so
Yeesh.
yeah.
Is it? Do you, all right. This is a stupid question, but do you get more joy out of the very heavily makeup and all the prosthetics cosplays, or do you get joy out of just throwing something on?
Ooh. It's tough, because like, I don't love doing hair or makeup. I fucking hate wigs with a passion. I certainly don't have a lot of joy in the necessarily the process of it. It'd be nice to have a cosplay that you can just throw on. What's so funny about the Destiny cosplay is the makeup is a son of a bitch, but I don't want to wear a helmet,
Yeah.
especially not in Georgia heat. But otherwise, like that cosplay is one of the most comfortable I've ever put on my body. Um, and like I did Princess Leia for the Bunny Hutch at DragonCon this year, which is basically a normal face of makeup, a slightly varied version of hair I already do, and then I threw on a bunny suit, which like they're not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's one layer. And
It's
we're done.
cool.
Yeah. I'd love to do more cosplays that are easy, but those aren't fun. So I guess I have
So
I guess
it's
I have ultimately more fun with the complicated stuff.
yeah.
That, or I just gotta be better about, like my Destiny cosplay is several actual layers, but I probably
Right.
could have built it to be a single layer zip up option. But that takes more planning and pattern drafting than I'm willing to do.
Mm,
It's much easier to actually build the layers
yeah.
than it is to figure out how to make a single garment look like layers.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I wish I had I wish I could add to that, but I have no. Like my cosplay is like buying cosplay stuff to put on, so I have
Which is also
I
valid.
do not understand. I'm not creative enough to go ahead and build stuff. All right. So Kate wants to let you know. Let's give you a shout out for being an amazing con mom. You know how to make sure a wig and a headpiece stay put an entire con day.
Too. I have been a semi-professional dresser for theater, so yes, I do know how to do these things.
And our last question, which is the one we got on Instagram, which I thank so much for people posting their questions on Instagram. I really appreciate it. I would love to get more questions on Instagram so we have these questions beforehand. This is from Pagan God on Instagram. What accomplishment are you most proud of, and what do you still want to do?
Um, hmm. It's so funny because I had looked at that question and I didn't actually think about it. Um, Gosh. I think I think just starting. Like starting Pick Your Poison Productions. Um, I started a Ren Fair show with friends back in the day when I was doing that. I started doing cosplay. Like, uh, I mean, I guess the Pick Your Poison Productions is the most recent and therefore the most proud of. Because starting any creative endeavor is hard and it sucks. And a very sweet friend of mine recently asked me, he's like, what does it feel like to be awesome all the time? And he was kind of joking, but I think he was kind of serious. And I was like, I don't know, it kind of feels like I want to like hide under my desk all the time. Like, I don't want to do the work. Doing the work, I'm proud of. I'm proud of, like, I've got 3 shows this month, and I have already organized starter cast meetings with all of them. I'm proud of surviving day-to-day life and still finding a way to make art happen.
Yeah.
And what do I still want to do? I want to find a way to do that and get a nap in.
Naps are important. No. Naps are very important.
No. I mean, it's what I think we already talked about. Like,
yeah.
I'm very proud of Pick Your Poison and everything we've done so far. I want to find ways to make it financially stable for not just myself, but for other people that are giving me their time and talent. And that's it. That's the long and short of it. I want to find a way to keep doing what I'm doing and keep paying people to do it with me.
Amazing.
And yeah, that's it.
That is going to bring us to the end of our interview, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel like I could ask you another hour's worth of questions. We could take this interview in a much different direction. And
part 2 a year
yes,
from now.
I definitely could have a part 2 with you. That being said, anything you want to plug? Where can people catch you next?
Yeah, I mean, come out to the Roguelike if you're in the Burbank, Los Angeles area next Thursday night. Questing starts at 7 o'clock. We have a little quest before all the shows that people can do, and they'll earn another reward from their hero. If you are unavailable to be in the area and you are willing to give up your Thursday night usual stream if you're watching something else,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. You can come catch us at Pick Your Poison's Twitch. And then otherwise, yeah, please find us and follow us, Pick Your Poison Productions, pretty much everywhere on the web, because we have plans brewing. There will be more content coming. There will be more story-driven stuff, and we have such a cool collection of people that I'm really excited to be able to give more of them space to flex that creativity. So there will be more coming.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have been your host, Joe. Thank you so much for following me. For all the people showing up to see Sarah, and this is the first time you're seeing me, I'm Joe. You can find me at New Age Cosplay, where I do cosplay stuff really poorly. You can find me everywhere at New Age Geeks. You can catch us, today is Thursday. You can catch us back here on Monday, where we actually, due to a scheduling change, I'm going to have another investigation check with Daytay, the cosplay, Daytay Cosplay, who is our new cast member on Forging Fates, our Sober D&D campaign set in the Critical Role world of Exandria. But we are catching up with his backstory on Monday, and then Thursday we have Goodberry Cafe, which is our trying out a new system. Jem sent me what it is, and I don't have it up, so check out our social medias to find out what it is. We're gonna have new people, and that cast to be announced as soon as Jem tells me what it is.
And what time does that start?
That starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, and I think, was that 5 for you guys on the West Coast?
6. So frankly, that should work out perfect, because I think you'll be done, and then they can just pop right on over to Pick Your Poison, which is starting, that stream will go live like 7:45 Pacific. So I think that's just about
guess who we're rating.
Hell yes, please do.
And apparently we have QPD on Wednesday. I don't even know what's going on my own fucking channel anymore. We got I have literally shows every day for the rest of the week. In like a week.
Godspeed.
I don't know why I do this to myself. I've got nothing else. Sarah, if you've got nothing else.
I got nothing else. You rock. Thank you so much for having me on. This was an absolute pleasure.
Stick around for the raid, and remember, we love you, geeks. Good night.